And we're back. Here I am, Fly Navarro, coming at you live. Today, I got Captain Tim Dean on the line. Timmy, introduce yourself. Let the people know who you are.
Yeah, good to see you, Fly. Tim Dean from Australia. I run a vessel, marlin boat called the Calypso, and have done for the last 30 years on the Barrier Reef and east coast of Australia, and been fortunate enough to fish some people over here from all around the planet and get to go and fish in their waters as well. So, yeah,
That's
7 o'clock on a Thursday evening before Easter, mate. Good to see you.
And good morning on my side. It's 5 a.m. Well, I didn't get a chance to talk to you yesterday. We were supposed to talk yesterday, which was, I'm going to tell you my little saga I had yesterday. I jumped up out of bed. I'm like, oh, shit, I overslept. And I looked and it was 2:50. And I'm like, it's all good. I'm going to go back to sleep. So I started going back to sleep. And now I'm worried about oversleeping. By about 3:30, I'm like, fuck this. I'm going to go grab a cup of coffee. I get up, I get a cup of coffee, go through my normal progress in the morning, check my messages, check my my emails. And what's the first email I get? Hey, Fly, you mind bumping it till tomorrow? I'm like, son of a bitch. I'm up at 2:50.
Yeah, don't you love that? If I knew it affected you so much, I would have did it on purpose, mate, but that wasn't the reason. I'm actually down in, I'm not on the coast. We've got the boat now at Port Stephens, so we're in our, just coming into our autumn time, your fall, coriander, cilantro, all that shit. So we're fishing blue marlin, striped marlin, Port Stephens, April. We lose our northerlies and the fishing gets really good, but I'm down in the mountains at the moment, which is sort of south of Sydney. Got a little place down here, mate, and we're down here doing some trout fishing for the Easter weekend.
Oh, so nice.
Born run, so mixing it up a bit, but this is home to me down in this area. This is where I grew up. And the house I'm in now is the family home. And Dad passed a couple of years ago. Actually, when I finished fishing, the day I finished fishing with Marty Bates in Cape Verde, we got the call and it was a long flight home. But anyway, here we are down here, mate. And Benny Hayes, that runs the Calypso when I'm not there. It was his birthday yesterday and we got tied up talking to him and setting up the place down here. So, yeah, hence. But, yeah, I didn't want you to get up at 2:30 in the morning to have a coffee, mate. But
listen, I would have. I don't care. I deal with so many people in so many different time zones. It doesn't bother me one bit. And besides, we get to talk about fishing. I have a friend of mine. He's always, hey, man, don't work too hard. And I'm like, all I ever do is talk about fishing. You think it bothers? That's all I do all day long. I talk about fishing. I help put fishing stuff together everywhere you go. I want to work harder. It's a lot more fun. There's no complaints on my part.
Before about, and I think about a lot, and one of the things I like about time zones and whatnot, and if you're staying up late, I check in with people all around the planet that I like talking to about fishing. And I don't know, the older you get, you sort of get a bit selfish on, I'm going to share not so much your time, but when you want to hear a story off someone or what's going on, and there's regular suspects around the world. I've got, the boys in Kona, give them a rattle up, and then you can, I'm always into Marty Bates. We're talking once a week at least because we've got a good connection there and had a great time fishing with him. And then I'll give Terry a shout over there in Florida, and I've got Corey over there. He's in the Bahamas now fishing. And I guess that's one of the good things about doing what we've done all these years is you get to share your drunk late nights with someone that's getting up early in the morning or whatever. But this shit's made the whole fishing world a lot smaller, If someone catches or misses a fish in Kona, we know about it in a heartbeat, or someone's streaming it online. And if Marty Bates ever got worked out how to use the internet or a camera, we'd probably see that as well, yet alone an Omni, But
I want to get him on the podcast because I want to talk about his new house he built. He did a lot of.
I've been there, Fly. It's next level. That place hasn't got a blade of grass on it. It's, if anyone that's been to Cape Verde, it's a rock. We think we call Lizard Island a rock, but you go there, it's certainly a rock. And what they've carved out of the side of that place at San Nicolau, it's a credit to both him and Ambra and anyone that's I shared something the other day online. We're talking, and Marty chucked something up, and he was frothing off about a new garden or something there, but I know he didn't do it, and I know Amber would have did it all, and he would have been up the top drinking beer. But if you get the chance, go there and check it out. But I hate to say that because it'll lessen the time that I get to go there if everyone goes. But it's a
If
special
everybody
place.
books them out.
You've fished over around that place, mate. You know, one of the hardest jobs I ever thought to do as a marlin boat captain would be to pick the Atlantic blue marlin bite, where you're going to base yourself. You know, that back in the days of when they were going to Ghana or yet alone the Madeira thing, or, you know, Cape Verde turned up, Peter B went over to the Canaries, and they're fishing off the windswept, sand-blasted coast of Dakar. And, you know, you're 1,000 miles from where you should be if you're not there, you know, yet alone take it on somewhere like Ascension Island. You know, the best thing we've got going for ourselves over here is we just got to come out of any port in the east coast of Australia and turn left and stop when you get to Cairns. You know,
Pretty
and they show
simple.
up every year. Pretty simple, mate, but every year they've showed up, and I think we've got another year to go, and it's the 60th anniversary of when the first big one was caught up there with George
Wow.
Bransford.
Really?
So it's 59 years ago. So
Jesus.
time flies. It felt like yesterday we had the 50th tournament, and then the 40th year anniversary tournament, and then we're all now talking about the 60th tournament in Cairns, which is going to be in September. And yeah, it's going to be a big show, but time flies, you know.
Yeah,
I
well,
often think about it. The older you get, the less news you watch, and you get selective who you're talking to. But
I know the feeling. I tell everybody life is like a roll of toilet paper. The older you get, the closer the end of you get, the faster it goes. It just goes by faster and faster. It's like, how did the last 10 years go by?
then you end up with someone else wiping your ass eventually, I guess.
Yeah. Listen, I'm about ready to put a fucking bottle brush on there and just rub up and down on that.
Yeah, it's long days at sea. But no, the fishing over here, what's been going on the east coast of Australia? Well, can season last year was really good until it wasn't. And it's been a lot of years since a big season's been strung together where you go through 3 moon phases and you get good fishing on the places, times of the moon when you should. September sort of got into it pretty good. October fired up. Some of the boys got right up from there on long number 10, but it was pretty localised to Heartbreak second corner, number 10. And the way I think since post-COVID, everyone's got, you know, we missed 2 years with that shit. It cost us a lot with the fleet. We got our boat to the border in Queensland, which is 350 miles north of where home port is in Port Stephens. And 2 years in a row, we had to turn around and then defer or cancel, refund trips, you know, and that sent the fleet into a place where everyone realised how much the fleet needed each other, because you can go up there and fish that 150-mile section from Cairns to Lizard Island with 2 or 3 other boats, which a few of the guys did. You had Corey up there on, you know, running the Sheriff, and a few of the local Cairns boats, but no one else could get there. And then you could be fishing number 5 and they're red hot on number 3, you know, like 5 miles away, and no one will ever know. So it sort of taught the fleet that as much as you like to have your own spot and you like to not tell anyone what's going on, you know, on the next reef, you really inherently need each other to cover a spot like the Barrier Reef when it's going on. But after that, people still are fishing together a lot. So when the bite comes on, yeah, everyone gets into them, but then the bite goes off pretty quick as well, and then people go search and someone finds them, and then they all get back together. Whereas back in the day, and we were just talking about HF radio and internet and all that sort of shit, no one would say too much, and then 5:30 in the afternoon, the HF would start buzzing on 2638, and you'd hear Peter B, Bella on the way, where's Bobby Jones, and they'd be talking one end of the reef to the other, and that was your dial-up time, and you found out then whether you're in the spot or where you should have been. But technology like what we're doing now, Starlink, it's real time, you know. Like
that's the cool part.
Everywhere.
It's
cool. It's cool, but it's like how to keep a secret with 3 people. You know, you got to kill 2 of them
and bury the shovel. You got to kill 2 of them and bury the shovel, man.
Yeah.
But listen, like again, you're in Australia. I'm here in South Florida. We're able to talk and have a fishing conversation, which would have
Yeah.
never happened years ago.
No, I
Uh,
like it a lot. And
it's
that's what I say. We're going to
it
catch
makes the
up.
world small, but it's nice where you can talk to your fishing buddies. Um, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm old enough where we didn't have cell phones when we traveled. I used to have to call back into the local bar for all my messages. Once a month, you call in the local bar and say, "Hey, man, anybody looking for me?" Oh
Yeah.
yeah, you have
What
these,
are you guys?
and that's how it was. And now you shoot somebody a text message, and you were talking about text messages. I remember I was in St. Thomas one year, and I got a text message. This was even before iPhones. A friend of mine, he was a deckhand out of North Carolina, and he hung I think it was a 1048. It was just over $1,000 in one of the tournaments, and I got a grainy ass picture on my Motorola flip phone, but I knew about it within 5 minutes.
Mm.
Uh, so I also, I don't know if you remember because this was on the other side of the world. I was down in Tropic Star on the Salt Shaker, and there was a boat. I believe it was the Abracadabra that was fighting a fish. Oh shit! I want to say they fought it for 25 hours off the Abacus, and everybody was on the single sideband just listening to it. Hey, what's going
Yeah.
on with that fish? No, no, they're still fighting. They grabbed the leader. Uh, because we want to know. I mean, we're the most gossip oriented group on the world, us fishermen, man.
Yeah. No.
We
And
we
yeah,
want to
I
know
warmed
what's
to
going
that.
on.
I warmed to that. I like that. I wouldn't like the 25-hour fight though. I'd run the line over by then.
Oh
It
my
reminds
God.
me when we're talking about we've been getting into a bit of light tackle and fly fishing for far too many years now, I guess. And I've been fortunate enough to have some great adventures with some people that get their name in the holy book. And one of them, fortunate enough, is my wife, Rebecca. She caught the 6 pound blue marlin world record. It's about 178.5 pound. And that was in 2017 after lots of years of arguing and putting tackle together and trying to crack the code on that shit. But we got lucky on the first day. Really, we aimed up on let's target the blue marlin, and we went out with a team of people that resembled and probably enough as the same effort went into back in the day when you would. I want this guy to be this person. I want this guy to be my leader man, and he's tall. I want him on the gaff. And you build your team and you think, geez, but wouldn't it be good if it came together? Like how good would that spot be? That spot luck where preparation and opportunity meet. As I've always said, it's not always good luck, but where it is, it'll tell you how good you prepared or what sort of luck you got.
Yeah.
We got to the spot and little Roscoe Finlayson was running a boat for a few days there before, and he'd caught a lot of blue marlin in this spot. And Port Stephens is not one of those places where the blue marlin tend to hang around a lot. You'll get a run of them and they'll move on and you'll be back to your regular striped marlin fishing, 150 to 200 pounders or your black marlin. But it's a spot where you can go out and you can catch 200 pound, 250 pound plus fish, and they're all together, the blues, blacks, and the stripes. We've set up the most custom, because Ian Miller rang me. He said, I can't make these things any more custom. This is it. This is all I've got. So we had 3 pound. Oh, sorry. We had the 4 pound, the 6 pound, the 8. And we all went all the way up to 20, I think it was. And we said, let's set them all up and let's match the hatch and pitch to what we see and what we're looking. But wouldn't it be good if this? I'll think of the lady's name in a minute. Pam's fish. It was Pam Basco's fish she caught
Okay.
in Kona. Was the 6 pound blue marlin. Dean Butler's on the boat and he said to me, how's that new Raymarine shit going you got up there? And I said, oh, it's going well and it marks fish and it's running nice. I've always used the Raymarine navigation, but they were just coming out with their sounding gear when the new stuff come out. And this in 2017. And he said, well, when you mark a fish there, give me a shout and I'll come up and see what it looks like on your gear. And I said, well, there's one there now. And he jumps up and he sticks his head up and he goes, oh, yeah, look at that. And so made a turn and I said, well, there he is there now on the long one. We just running 2 teasers. It's a Lumo long and it's just another big Pakula run short on 2 teaser poles. Yeah, it's a blue marlin, and the guys are saying, "What are we throwing? What are we throwing? How big is it?" And I said, "It doesn't look that big, but any blue marlin when you're fishing up to 12 pounds, big enough, you know." And I said, "Well, let's roll the dice." And this is word for word. I remember it like it was yesterday. And everyone's saying, "What do we pitch? What are we throwing?" And we're teasing this fish up. It's hot to trot, ready to roll. And I said, "Fuck it. Let's throw the 3, which is the 3 kilo, 6 pound in your language." And guess what the crew said?
Oh boy.
When your skipper says, "Let's throw the 6 pound at the blue marlin," they didn't say a fucking word. They just did their job. You know, so the 6 pound goes out, and that there to me was one of the most special parts of this day when no one batted an eyelid. We knew what we were there to do, and you got to go and do it, or you know how much you want to risk. Let's throw it all on the line. I put the team together, and they're all committed, and it went out, and we hooked the fish, and we'd come tight straight away, and it jumped its ass off all around the ocean. I'm waiting for us to say goodbye to it. Fish settles down and starts going out to sea, and it's staying on the surface, and it's probably 150, 180 yards out, and it's up sea, and I'm going out with it. And for about 15 minutes, I thought, if we keep going this way, sooner or later we're going to come together. If that fish keeps going in this direction and we're going in line, we're going to come together at some point here. And sure enough, we did, and it darted across the transom. Dino Ford grabs a handful of leader, and fish jumps square centre transom, 12 o'clock, and there was bang, bang, 2 gaffs in it. The next thing I see the fish up beside me, and it hits the towel leg with 4 guys getting dragged around the corner, and it hits the water and gets some grip. It's around the other side, and by that time, my wife's gone. I just see the leader going in under because it was in the old Calypso with the open bulkhead, and she's now inside with the shenanigans going on, and I'm down there in the corner with the guys, and whack, whack, we get it on board. And we knew that as soon as we had that fish on board, we had a world record. It was instant because there was no one in Australia has caught a blue marlin on 6 pound, yet alone in the female class. And there's probably this many people on the planet that have done it. But you do that on day one, Fly, but you could, and you have to commit to be prepared to do that on day 1,000.
Non-stop.
We were just kissed on the dick by fairy to get it done that day. And that happened at 10:30 in the day. I think we got in at 12:30 back at the dock, and yeah, we were drunk before we got to land. Because,
As you should.
Yeah, well, and you know, as much as I respect and admire everyone that's in that grand book, the IGFA, the records, and I know what it takes for people to commit, whether you got enough money to buy Australia or you saved up all your life to do it, anyone that commits to, righto, this is the road we're going to go down, you've got to be prepared to take a lot of kicks in the nuts to stay with it, you know. So I admire anyone that goes out and puts a team together like back in the day. You know, you had your Stuart Campbells doing it, you had your, over in Australia, Bob and Dolly Dyer, and, you know, the Dunaways and Skip and those guys who were going around, and the Chicken Man, putting that stuff together and going to places where no one's been before. It's admirable. And every time you go out of a port on the east coast of Australia and you turn left and you go into Cairns, you're thinking about the footsteps you're going in, you know. And Cairns is one of those places that we are so traditional in how we fish. You know, we only invented, or Bilson put the third bait out there not too many years ago, and it did 2 things. It caught a lot more fish, and it emptied your bait box
very fast
in the blink of an eye if the wahoos and the barracudas are around, you know. So that's what I like about it, yet alone the bit where you can call someone around the world and still talk about the good old days. Well, the good old days are getting made every day.
Every day. 20 years from now, these are going to be the good old days.
Yeah. It'll be like someone dusting off the 10 Commandments. What do those guys say?
I was very fortunate. I got a chance to meet Billy when I was down there back in 17 or 18. I got a chance to meet up and have dinner with him. I really enjoyed that. I'm glad I got a chance to do it before he passed. He was a special character. Yeah.
There's no doubt about that, mate. And it's, you know, any given night, and no one ever, you know, we don't speak ill of the dead, but Billy had his challenges, and he pushed it hard. He caught some incredible fish, and there's there was nothing on the planet like you felt pressure when you were going head to head with him in a tournament because you didn't, and he knew, and he'd always say, and I've been on the end of it, ass kicking from him fishing, and I've been fortunate enough to get over the top of him in some tournaments. But he pushed you to the limit, even if you're on another boat. Like he'd be making calls to you, "What are you doing there? How come you catching these fish?" Like he'd be, and then at the end of it, he'd be the first one to congratulate you because he knew you didn't just win the tournament, you got through his shit. He made it hard, but yeah, he's no longer there. And I was only talking to a few guys the other day. Forget who it is, but you seem to be going to more sad things about these sort of people you fished alongside all your life, instead of doing this sort of good shit, and
Yeah, well,
I'm conscious of that. And, I think
unfortunately,
about,
as you get older, you lose more and more friends,
you
and you see more stuff. And I get it. It just depends on how you look at it. For me, I kind of look at it as, look, I'm glad God let me wake up today.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
if you look at it that way, and what I can do today, and who I can talk to, and I can say I was lucky to meet somebody, or I was lucky to
yeah,
talk to somebody. It's just your perspective. Um, really look at it. We're fishermen. We found a
yeah.
passion in this world, and we've gotten to do it all our life.
Oh,
There's
yeah, and
no
it's
complaints
that
on my part.
we're still doing it. It's like they say, have you been drinking Bundy rum all your life? And you could say, no, not yet.
It ain't over yet, man.
Ah, that's right. And yeah, let's talk about what's going forward for me right now. What adventures? Because that's what I'm really getting into a lot lately, trying to involve the bride who's watched me sail away every year for 30 years. And she tells good stories about when he used to go when I was young. I used to cry and we'd wave goodbye and all that, which was, we always thought was bad luck. She says, I don't cry anymore. I don't cry anymore. And
Good. I need to get some stuff done around the house. Good, he's gone.
yeah, thank God he's there. But you go up there and you do back to back 100 days straight, and you're watching you guys work hard, and you're fishing all day, and you're keeping the smile up, and then you're the good times, the bad times, the going half mad times, and then you do that for 3 months where your word is God. You've got billionaires and, like I say, people that save up all their life that come fishing with you up there to get a spot, and you treat them all the same. But then you've got to go back and reintroduce yourself to your family at the end of that. You've come from a place where you can turn the music up loud and you can push it to the limit, and if you're not prepared to put everything you got on the line, you're not going to catch these people that can't go round and round with a handle of fish sometimes. That's the God's honest truth. And you walk back into your house at the end of that season and you might say something like, who left that rubbish there? Or why couldn't you put that in the trash can? And look out.
Oh boy,
So, yeah,
you're not on the boat anymore.
nah, you're not on the boat anymore. But, I've been fortunate enough to have a wonderful wife, and, and I love taking her along and her taking me along to the adventures we're on at the moment. So end of June, we've got 2 weeks in Kona. We were there last year. We fished your tournament there, the World Cup. Spoke to you from over there. Going back over there, mate.
And I
Yeah,
want to talk. I want to talk about that too, because when we lined up this conversation, I told my girlfriend that we were talking, and at least for me, one of the special moments I had was I'm up for 30 something hours, and the World Cup for me is is my Christmas. It really is. It's Christmas in July. I get to talk to every marlin fisherman in the world, and for 2 months straight, and it started already. We've got boats signing up. I signed somebody up yesterday, and it's Christmas in July. And
yeah,
you called me up. It's like, hey man, you're supposed to be going to sleep. I can't go to sleep. There's people fishing. I'm like, no
yeah,
shit, there's people fishing, but you're going to start fishing in about 12 hours. You better get some rest. But you
yeah,
kept texting me every 2 hours. I can't sleep, man. I can't believe there's somebody fishing in a tournament and I'm supposed to be sleeping.
yeah, yeah.
It was
No, it's good.
great.
That's the first one I've done, and I watch it every year, as you know. I'm shooting you messages, whatnot. It's pretty cool. Now, how many years have been going, Fly?
This is year 41.
Jesus.
This is year 41 that it's going on. And it's, the tournament itself, it was way before its time. way before its time because I heard stories. It still belongs to the person who started it was Jim Hardy. He was a sports writer for the Miami Herald, and his family still owns it. And it's great to listen to his daughters and his grandchildren talk about, yeah, grandpa would just have checks in his pocket and phones would ring. And sometimes it would take 3 or 4 days to figure out who caught what.
So where were they? What was the spread of countries back then? Do you think? Do you know much about
Oh
them?
my gosh. I bet you.
It was
So
obviously
the
like
first
Bahamas,
year, the first
and
year Tex Schramm won it in San Salvador, Bahamas. You had Bermuda, you had Hawaii, but little by little, I mean, Madeira wasn't happening back then. That was in the '80s
I
when they
was still like
started it.
Wagwa in
When I
Europe.
first when I first started fishing the World Cup, and this is where a lot of people forget, I was in Bermuda, and there was no go online and pay with a credit card. We went to Adam Hines' father. Adam, I don't know if you know Adam Hines. They're the local plumbers there on Bermuda, and you'd have to go to the plumber shop, and you'd have to give him your $3,000, and he would
Shit
collect the
smells like
three.
money, though.
Yeah, and back then, if you won 100 grand, it was a lot of money.
Yeah,
It was a lot of money back in the day if you won 100 grand.
it
But
still is. Still
well,
is.
yeah, people, man, a center console boat nowadays is like 500 grand. It's still a lot of money, but it's like,
Still get wet.
oh, but yeah, we used to have to pay. We used to have to go into the plumber shop, pay out our 3 grand or $1,000, whatever it was. And then he'd write you your receipt, you'd fill out all your paperwork, and then he would wire transfer the big lump sum to Jim Hardy and the family, saying you were in the tournament. It's not like now where people are signing up with credit cards and
Yeah,
I mean, again, the technology has helped, and it's also helped with making more boats participate. Last year we had 162 boats. The jackpots amount, but the, our ability to communicate
yeah,
is incredible. The last couple of years I've put together group chats where depending on what zone you're in, I don't want people in Hawaii being bothered by people in Cape Verde, which I don't think anybody really would. Just to know what's going on, but Cape Verde, I've got 50 or 60 people on a group chat and we're all talking all day long.
yeah.
Um, and then Madeira, I got a group chat there, and then one for Bermuda, and then I have the one for Hawaii. Because what inevitably for me, when people start waking up in Hawaii, it's 5 o'clock over there, 5:30. I'd get whatever a dozen phone calls. So I just said, you know what? Let's put a group chat. I'll put it in the group chat. When people wake up, they can see what's going on,
Yeah.
and it allows us to talk. It's no different than chatting on the VHF, except we're doing it on our phones. Hey guys, good morning. This is what's on the deck, or there's nothing on the deck. You know.
No, I
Uh,
think it's cool as shit. I like it, and like I say, I fished the first one last year. I followed it for many, many years, and I fished it on the Humdinger with Jeff and
how
Brett.
cool is that?
It was really cool, and it's a good segue into the story of the whole thing. Was it's all about the Omni, right? It's all about the Omni,
Oh,
and we get over there to Kona, and we get off the aeroplane, and we roll straight into Marlon Parker's tournament. Marlon and Carol are there, and Marlon's making the food as he does every year in his tournament, which is cool. And I'm fishing with Nick on the tantrum, who's catching the shit out of him, and he's
crushing them.
yeah. This is what's going on. And I've fished Kona for a lot of years, and we'd do a 5-day trip there, and Biggles and I and Hayden and Bo, we'd all go over there and we'd go fishing and fish around with the boys because you want to catch up with your buddies over there. So you do a day with, BT, jump on with Jace Holtz, and then you would do a trip with Stymie, and Chip would be there, always. And so I'm fishing with Nick, and then I thought, oh no, I want to do the World Cup. So you can't get a boat over there, let alone one with an Omni. And I thought, shit. So I rang Jeff. I heard he had a cancellation. And I know the Humdinger, and I know that Peter B and him brought it over from Florida way back when, I think just after they finished putting the animal counter on the Ark or whatever they were doing. They get it over there, and the humdinger is the humdinger. She's original. The only thing different now is that the taps don't work, and you bring your own water, and it's hot. And I felt pretty bad. And Jeff Fay was the captain that Corey Gillespie fished with before he came and fished with me. So we spoke back then, and anyway, I got a chance to fish with Jeff, and I thought, that's cool. I want to sit up there and talk to this guy, and every now and then pick his brain about something, because there's a lot of good stories there, and I'm into that. And I made the fatal error, and I felt bad about asking. I said, Jeff, do you have an Omni on the humdinger? And he said, no, sir, I do not. And I said, well, I reckon I'm going to go with 50 odd years of experience, and if we just go in and out on Red Hill enough that run, that we might get lucky. And we did. We got lucky. We caught the shit out of them, but we didn't catch the one. But we caught enough where I had a buddy fisher with me, and I said, if I have to get in that chair one more fucking time, you're in. I think we caught 4 blue marlin, a bunch of spearfish, and the second day of the firecracker, because I think you had 3 and then 4, which was the World Cup. I think that's how it went. We had every Omni boat fishing around us, and they were not getting bit. And I get a message from Teddy Hergs. He said, fucking, you guys are running hot there today. What's going on? I said, oh, our Omni's, like, Jeff's got it dialed in, you know. I think Jeff was running on landmarks because he's done those same runs forever. But on that Omni thing, what I've seen over the years fly, I saw it there and then, and it was like giving Hitler a nuke. You put that in the right hands, and like those guys over in Kona, deep blue water, not much other shit in the water. Like, you go up and down the reef with that thing and you're marking manta rays and turtles and sharks, and you're getting a lot of information. But over there, we were pinging a mark at 600 yards away and tracking it. This is with Nick on the tantrum, and they're all doing this shit. And we could watch it as they're zooming in. We were inside watching the TV, and it'd go down past the boat, and then you'd see it go in between your spread, and then you'd see it stop, and then you'd see it start coming back towards you, and then you put your drink down and go, fuck, I've got to go back outside and reel this one in, you know, this is what's going on. It is like, I was talking to BT not long ago, and I said, I looked at it like fracking. I take enough old oil men fishing from Texas that we were back into the single deep verticals, and they were sucking all the easy oil out. And someone came along and went back into that area like Midland, Odessa, West Texas, and fracking's your friend and rivers of gold. This is what the Omni's like. And you can turn a week's fishing into 35, 40 days of bites. And when you're doing things like fly fishing for billfish or ultralight tackle for marlin, you need the shots. You need to be
that's 100%
very wary that you're not going to do the Rebecca Dean and go out there day one when you set up and get really, really lucky. You've got to be prepared. So if you can condense the amount of bites, the amount of shots, and keep getting them, that Omni will do it for you. So I saw it for what it really is. And yeah, people say, you know, it's unfair and all this, but let's look back on GPS when that started. Let's go back to when we're not using landmarks anymore. Let's go back to, you know, fucking anything, any bit of electronics, you know.
It's not even just electronics. What about linen line and monofilament? Look at what monofilament's done in the last 30 years.
Wide, 1050 wide, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just new technology that comes.
Doorknob, you know, the doorknob.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to throw that in because I know Biggles is overfishing Angola at the moment with Kevin. And you mentioned doorknob, and he says some fucking guy caught a 1,200 fucking pounder in Kona on that thing, and next minute it's everywhere.
That's, you know what? I'm not that guy. I'll pull the same 4 lures because I like them. I trust them. They run nice. You just ran over the right one at the right time, man.
How many lures do you reckon you've got, Fly? How many marlin lures you got?
How many marlin lures do I have? Do I own?
Yeah.
Holy shit. I would
too many.
Way too many. I would say probably somewhere close to 100.
Yeah.
But it's like but you know what? It's like a t-shirt. You have 100 t-shirts, but you wear the same 4 ones over and over and over again.
I'm exactly the same, and I don't think there's anyone on the planet that's not. Lures catch a lot of fishermen, but, you know, I'm pretty traditional in what we run. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it, sort of thing. You know, that's how we run. And
yeah, I don't want to change something.
Yeah, we do a lot of teaser fishing in, say, Port Stephens, and like I say, we'll run 2 teaser poles, or now we've switched to a bridge teaser and a teaser pole. And if you're in the areas where the blue marlin, we'd like to have a dredge in there now, mud flaps on it, that sort of
Yeah.
thing, and something something just sitting over the back and not far away from it, and there he is every time. You end up just reeling in your bridge teaser a lot coming off that dredge, but. The thing about doing that and the way we fish at Port Stephens, it's no different to the barramundi fishing or what I'm up here doing fly fishing for trout. You've got to put your shit in the spot. And when you're trolling a big spread and you've got your stinger out there and you've got all your stuff, and it's rough in Australia and we've got a lot of wind. And a few years back, we're having a barbecue in Kona and the boys are all there, and I'm listening to the lure fishing gods of Kona. They're talking about, you got Chip and Marlon and Jace and BT, all the guys. They're talking about where you run this bait, and Peter Hoogs is there with Teddy, and we've rented a house, and it was Clay's house, actually. We were renting Clay Hensley's, and big barbecue. And Marlon said to me, "Hey, Timmy, where do you like to, how do you like your long bait?" And that, bait's a lure, as we'd call it. I said, "Well, Marlon, I like it when it's not fucking going past me, And he goes, "Oh, yeah, that's right. Wind, wind in Australia. You make a turn over here some days and you watch your long one go past you."
Go past you.
Well, the big belly of line with the wind. And Kona, guess who made cut face lures, because it's calm.
Listen, if you want to learn how to run lures, Kona's great because it's consistent.
And calm.
It's calm every day. And listen, I'm not knocking it one bit.
Not at all, mate. I love the place. I love the place. But
I was very lucky that I ran that boat for 2 years in Kona.
Yeah.
And then I enjoyed
what was your average fishing a day? Like we do a 5-day trip before Omni, and you get a bite a day, catch one, you're going well. It's a great day out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was, I remember
1,400 pounds.
I remember I left St. Thomas to run that boat in Kona. And I remember telling my boss, listen, if you want to fish 150 days straight, I'm happy to do it. After, being used to it's blowing 20 knots every day.
Yeah.
It's flat calm. I'll fish every day.
Yeah.
It's easier on the body.
Yeah. Oh, you're exactly right there. We often talk about the multiplier of Great Barrier Reef years as a marlin captain versus somewhere like Kona, and we think it's like 5 to 1. But I love the place over there, and I'm happy and stoked that this Omni thing's come along, and it's increased their business tenfold. You push to get a day on a boat over there now, and good luck to them. And those guys have carved it out forever, but it's going to change the game. It already has, and there's a few of them starting to get into the Australian fleet. And like I say, you put that in the right hands, and like I say, it won't do you much good on the reef edge up there on the points and the spots, second corner, all that. A bit too much information, but we're only seeing the big fish and the black marlin. They're not always big, that end up on the reef. What's just out there in the Coral Sea? And we've fished a lot out there, and when it's quiet on the edge, you wander out and you'll catch a blue marlin, you'll get into the tuna aggregation, and all of a sudden you got a triple header of 900 pounders on, and I've seen it. It's
wow.
You go out there with one of these Omnis, and you've got guys like Tommy Francis on the Ultimate Lady sitting just wide of the reef, and you just watch him, and he was one of the first guys to run sonar over here, and probably the first guy. And he'd sit wide of 4 and 5, probably 3 mile out, and then you'd just see him put it into gear, and he'd go over here and he'd make a turn, and you'd watch a bait go out, and then a 900 pounder pile on it, and he'd catch it, and then he'd go back to doing that. And he'd do that in the morning or earlier on, and then he'd move into the reef for the afternoon. And we all knew that's what goes on, but now you're going out there fishing an area big as the MCG or bigger all around you. So and when you're out there, you ping something, it's flashes up as 700 pounder, 1,000 pound marlin. You hit it with an Omni, you know what you're looking at. It's there.
I talked to Tommy, and he was telling me he could tell the difference between a black marlin and a blue marlin on that Omni.
Yeah, I don't doubt it, mate. And those guys in Kona, I saw it last year. They were telling me this. They're looking at it every day. They're actually looking at it every single moment of the day. All I saw was the back of Nick's head all day. the only time you'd turn around is like when you'd hear the teasers start coming in, the electrics. You knew you had to put your drink down and start walking out the back because Nick's about to make an appearance with his face. But it's got to be hard on the eyes, mate, just watching that all day. It's hard enough. We're doing these ones looking into the sounder all day on the reef. But some days it's just nice to sit back and look back. But those things, they keep you tuned in. And over where you're from, there's guys employing dudes to watch it all day, right?
Listen, I fished a couple of sailfish tournaments in Costa Rica last year. They employed one guy just for the Omni, and he's going to tell you, okay, it's coming down the left side of the boat. It should pop up on the left long. And there it is.
Send a ping. One ping only.
One ping only. What a classic movie. What a classic.
Jones was his name in that movie, the sonar guy, Jonesy.
Jonesy. That's right.
Yeah.
That was a great movie.
Yeah,
that was a great movie. But yeah,
they can look at that screen and say, "Oh no, it's just two whales fucking." It's not a nuclear Russian sub. And here we are saying,
and they were all going just off sound. That wasn't even pinging anything. That's just off sound.
Yeah.
Now I've heard some guys on the East Coast have some issues. I say issues where they follow something around for a while and it ends up being either a whale or a manta ray. Like you said, where you get too close to the reef, you start dealing with a lot of other junk. But
a lot of information.
It again, you got to learn how to disseminate the information. That's a big thing.
Yeah.
You have
how far do you follow that school of yellowfin before you go? There's no blue marlin there.
Oh, one of the biggest blue marlins I ever saw. We followed a school of yellowfins around somewhere between 4 or 5 hours. We were down in Panama, down in Tropic Star, and I don't know. We were weeding through the yellowfins, 50, 60 pounders. It wasn't one after another, but it was one, every half an hour or so, but we'd stay with it. And sure enough, when she decided to show up, she showed up and she was well worth it.
One. One.
Yeah. It was like,
whoa,
that's the one we've been waiting for, So
that's one of the frustrating things about the reef is you can fish a spot for days on end and know they're there. You've seen them on your sounder and you can fish and you've seen it. And you fish with Sparrow, and he's one guy that'll hang in because he's marking a fish or he gets a bite, and then he'll wander off and he'll come back because you'll see him, and they can break your heart. And you'll fish for 2-3 days, and they're there, and they hang on the point, head into the current like all good pelagics do, and like barramundi. And then you'll go, oh, fuck it, and you'll wander away, and someone will just come waltzing on in there, and someone rings the dinner bell and it's on. It's crazy, and that's a little different to the blue marlin wandering around. So if you're following a school of yellowfin round out in the deep blue yonder, it's not a bad spot to be. It's the only structure you got sometimes is something they're going to eat. Whereas we are hard on the edge fishing structure. You've been in there at the breakers and looking at the bottom and getting bit when you're in 40 metres of water, 30 metres of water, and you're hooking an 800 pounder, and you've got to make a turn to get out before you hit the reef. It's a cool spot.
It's a great
I love every
spot.
bit about it. But I love everything about it. It'll break your heart. It'll make you Superman. It'll pull his pants down up there. But like I said earlier, I'm really enjoying the fact that we're putting some trips together and going and checking out other people's spots. You hear so much about, and I've got one of probably the best memories on the planet, and growing up and reading about stuff and watching the Madeira come on to life, and the good times, early days of Cairns, and then you'd be always, oh shit, where's Roddy Hayes now? What's he doing running those screw head lures he was rolling with, and the Andromedas, and but we spoke earlier about, Europe wasn't even doing its thing back then, but then the Madeira thing come along, and then the Ghana thing come along, and then the Cape Verde follows, and Azores it's sort of always been there, I guess. And I always had a thing about English people don't go marlin fishing, it's I thought it was just Hawaiians and Aussies that did this shit, and I knew it was going on in Florida, but they don't have black marlin, and it was sort of a God-given right that we had all that. But Europe now is, yeah, it's
It's
ground
pop.
zero.
It's popping now. The whole
Yeah,
Eastern Atlantic, and you're right. Azores has always been there, but it's been very cyclical. It'll come, it'll go. It'll come, it'll go.
absolutely. But you
Um,
only hear about the good stories there. You don't hear about, yeah, we're there for 10 days and it's like, how big was that blue marlin you lost? Oh, it was the biggest one ever, you know. But I think it's
let's
cool and it gives us something to aim up on, you know, in between bites here, I guess. And
yeah. And again, it goes back to the technology. All this stuff is happening all at once, and you can talk to everybody in every location.
yeah, I call Marty now and he'd probably be hooked up. It's pretty cool.
I've reached out to him because I want to get him on the pod just to chat. You know, I don't get a chance to talk to Marty very often. I see him at the
Yeah.
boat show or the season I did in the Azores. I forget what year that was, 16 or 17. He and him and Olaf were there. We got a chance to hang out a little
Well,
bit.
that's another super good guy, you know, and you got Zach there as well. Crazy Zach fished with me back in early 2000s with him and I had him and Andy Dow on the deck, and we actually gaffed a 1062. That's what the fish went, and we hooked that fish, and within 2 minutes, maybe 20 seconds, we had the first gaff in it, and that
Wow.
was on Linden Bank, and there was a reason that happened. And it was more out of spite than, oh, yeah, that's a 1062. And I think the call came down as if it even looks fucking close, put a gaff in it. And this thing swam straight to the boat. And we're going in and out. And I've got Dave Pemberton there. I've got Bilson there. And I've got Sharky on this side. And everyone's got a bite out of this fish or something similar. So we are rigger to rigger. And the reef's a big spot, right? It's big enough that you don't have to dodge someone else's outrigger. But this is what's going on there, one Arvo. And I said, fuck, man. And we'd had a bite out of a big fish, and it's late in the day, and you're always looking back into the sun when you're coming back out from, you're going east-west. So you're looking into the sun. And I said, one more run here, and I can't put up with this anymore, because you knew when people were trying to catch a fish, and you knew when they were trying to muscle you out of the way and catch your fish, let alone theirs, and this is my spot. And that was going on. And, you know, like I said, Sharky, Pembo, Jimmy Daly might have been there, and Bilson's just ripping in, and left one comes down, and who knows what it is. Hopefully it's a marlin, because you're staring straight into the furnace. We come tight on the fish and it swims to the boat. And Andy grabs the leader, and I said, if it just fucking looks half decent, I said, fuck it, let's just put a gaff in it, because we had the boss sitting there at North Opal, South Opal, which is right there. And I think about that much of a two to come out of the water, and we could see it right there. And I said, righto, fuck it, let's gaff it. So first gaff went in, second gaff goes in, I get down, third one goes in, and 20 minutes later, we're still dealing with this thing. So we've got, I think, Pembo going down this side of us, and Bilson going down this side, and Sharky right there. And this happens in the blink of an eye, and all of a sudden they've seen us stop, and this thing's just going apeshit at the back of the boat. And I think we did so many turns with this thing and the rooster tail, and they're like, what the hell's going on? And Pembo comes over and hands over a couple of gaff poles back to us, and yeah, you make the most of your moments. But yeah, just talking about Zach. So yeah, I caught up with him when I was over there a couple of years ago in Cape Verde. And he's a hardcore dude, man. Like, he left Cape Verde, I think the second day we got there, and he said, I'm going to the Azores, and it was a 15, 18 knot northerly, and he had 900 miles to go straight into it. And he loaded on so much fuel, and then he left. And I thought, fucking hell, man. Like,
Never thought second about it. Just let's go.
nah, didn't bat an eyelid, you know. And we knew he got there because he sent us a message like 3, 4 days, 5 days later, whatever it was.
No,
But
no,
those guys travel, and Azores, Ascension, Ghana, like I said earlier, it's 1,000 miles between where you should or shouldn't be. It's a hard job.
it's those are long pokes. Those
Well, when you
nine,
got all your clients flying in there, then you're setting up your season, like you say, righto, we're going to base ourselves in Ghana. Let's go fly into a third world country, step over the heads that are rolling around the street, and let's hope the fish are there. But if they're not, it's hard to move people over there. Like, they're hard places to get to still.
I'm what is it? 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now, I'm going to Abidjan to fish the Ivory Coast, and it ain't easy getting over there. I'm going over there for 10 days, and it's like, all right,
What are
you're
you
going
fishing
on a
for
journey. Or in your world, I'm going on a walkabout, man.
then?
It's a long journey, man.
What's your target species there, mate? What are you looking at?
Blue marlin. I'm fishing with Stefan Milans. I think he's caught 7 granders over there, and maybe Anthony might be there. I know they're coming back from Ascension right now, so I think they might be moving one of the boats back to Abidjan. I'm not fishing with Anthony. I'll be fishing with Stefan. Stefan just turned 50, so what he decided to do, he's going to fish 50 days straight, and he just has friends flying in and flying out. So he's got
As
me and
Stefan would do.
what's that?
As Stefan would do, I guess, but that
Ex-
sounds pretty cool.
exactly. So it's he's got me and Carrie Chen coming in for the last 10 days.
Yeah, right.
So I get to beat the shit out of the Jamaican guy.
Well, I'll ring you when you're there and you can give us a rundown. But where
Oh,
is this place? Where's I couldn't even spell that place.
what, Abidjan? Uh,
Abidjan.
Abidjan is a city in Ivory Coast, and it's right next door to Ghana.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's right next door to Ghana.
Yeah.
And he's been after me for years to go over there. And you know what it's like. It's not
Yeah.
it's never the money, it's the time trying to put 10 days together in
You
between
work
work
that
and
out
all
as you
that
get a bit older, but
stuff.
the most
So
valuable commodity you got's time, mate.
yeah,
That's for sure.
that's our most valuable possession is time.
Yeah.
I don't want to go all the way over there for just 3 days. If I'm going to go over there, I want to go over there for 10, you know? So I fly over, go to Morocco, stop over in Morocco, and from there right to Abidjan. But
That's why you got the beard.
man,
You're
let
not
me
gonna
tell you, I blend in, brother.
you keep your mouth shut and you'll blend in.
You know how hard it is for me to keep my mouth shut? That's probably one of the
Well,
hardest things.
you'll keep it closed in some places over there, talking like you do, mate. Don't worry
Oh
about
my gosh. I was just telling you when I was in Costa Rica, I
that.
was fishing with my guys from Saudi and the Kuwait team. The one guy spoke no English, starts talking to me in Arabic and started calling me a sheikh. I'm like, no, I'm not a sheikh. I don't
No,
I don't have any wives, never mind 4 of them.
but
No, no.
that's we've pretty well covered most continents talking about fishing, and this is just bill fishing, and yet alone what you do on land, and it's I've always believed it's a sport that is so cross generational, yet alone intercontinental, of bringing people together. You can go and play A grade fishing with your granddad, and you can aim up on the toughest and biggest or the smallest and most finesseful thing you got to do, and you can do it across all generations, and that's what I love about it so much is, I'm getting to the point now that one day instead of having grand pups like I've got now with my daughter's dogs, we're going to have some grandkids run around at some stage, and you can take them fishing. Whereas basketball and football and that sort of stuff is something you show them pictures and films of. But social fabric, fishing's, it's the thread, man, that holds it together. You can do it with anyone, any age group, and still get away with it and take on the best shit you've ever done. That's what I like about it. Yet alone going to another country and doing it.
Oh,
Uh,
you know how many times I've been on a boat where I'm the only person that speaks English? And it's the greatest thing in the world. I go to Japan every year. I fish the JIBT.
They
This is
go
going
hard, man. They
Oh
go
my God,
hard.
them Japanese go way
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
This is going to be my 5th year fishing the JIBT. I'm the only guy that speaks English. Nobody speaks a lick of English, but I can
They
hang out on the
probably
boat.
do. They just don't want to talk to you.
Do you blame
No,
them?
no English. No English. But we have a saying over here: you jig like a Jap. Like you give a popper rod or a jig rod to an Aussie crewman on the reef, and come on, mate, show them how to do it. They'll go throw a popper, and I go boom, boom, now, mate. There you go. And they'll go back to rig and scout or whatever. But those guys, I've
They
had them
love
on
it.
board where they'll jig all day, and then they'll jig till they'll just pass out, and you're running in, and you look down the cockpit, and they're all asleep, like they're just wherever they last fell over, or they'll throw a popper 400 times a day, mate. You get an Aussie crewman, he'll do that twice. And if he hooks one, he'll hand it straight over, when
Yeah,
he's
no, no.
teaching.
It's a lot of fucking work.
Yeah, it is.
I
It is.
It's I've done it, but it's not high on my list.
No,
I'll
no,
sit
that's
there
when you
with my
learn
camera and
about.
take pictures.
That's when you learn that saying: the best bit about the fishing's the bite. That's it. Yeah,
Amen.
yeah.
Amen. But
Then you
no,
hand it over.
that is what's neat about our sport. You can go to any country. We share the same passion.
Yeah.
I have another Japanese friend. He brings in exotic cars into Japan. Speaks no fucking English.
What, like
Um,
Chevys?
he actually, it's funny you say that. That's exactly what he brings in: exotic Chevys, Fords, because they don't
I
have that
wouldn't have
stuff over
thought
there.
of that.
And
Yeah.
I've gone to his showroom, and I'm in his office, and I'm teaching him how to tie a bimini twist. And his
There's some really respectful people, though. I've fished a lot of people from Japan, and I think everyone that I'm taking fishing these days is respectful, and they're good to fun to hang out, and everyone's got a story. But yeah, the Japanese people, they've fished a lot of them, and my wife just came back from over there. Went over with my son, and my kids go skiing there every year. They go to Hakaba or somewhere, and Beck did a tour of Hiroshima and all that sort of stuff. And she said the people were wonderful. I said, well, yeah, no, they are. And every Japanese person I've had on board has been great. But they've got some super high tech shit, and they always have. Like, we used to watch them with those big long rods, and they had that fishing tournament where they're catching those little things like and they're handcrafting this shit like a samurai sword to catch something this big. And Dean Beach used to have a lot of them fishing on the Mauna Kea up on the reef, and he'd do a lot of popper fishing, and their stuff was so high tech, and hence Daiwa, Shimano, we've got all this. It's all from over there. If it's from Japan, it's good, even if it's
Yeah,
fishing. And you'd say, have they ever caught a marlin over there and we're using this shit? Like,
they're building it
that's
out.
true.
But they do have marlin. I believe the
I know
Japanese.
they do.
I believe the Japanese record, mainland Japan, is like 900 pounds, 900 and change. So they do get marlin there. And then Okinawa, I'm actually writing a story about fishing in Japan. Okinawa is the only place I know that has two. Now these are commercial boats.
Yeah.
They have two 2,000 pound blue marlins caught out of Okinawa on commercial longline boats.
Yeah, one of the 2,000 pounder. It's a bit of a joke we always have, and I'd like to see one. But when Terry brought the Tyson's Pride over to the reef, um, I forget what year it was, and he's a good buddy of all of ours. Love him to death. Good man.
Very good
And he
man.
hooks this fish, Terry Robinson. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's a
And
great guy.
he's terrific. He's like my big Floridian brother. And he hooks this fish, and I think it was sparrow. How big's that one, Terry? And he goes, oh, well under, mate. Well under. And I'm looking at this thing jumping, thinking, fuck me, that's a beauty. Like, this guy hasn't been here long, and he's well under, and he goes, yeah, well under 2,000. And I thought it is one of those places. And yeah,
So
that
Terry
was a
and
really good year of fishing. That was a really good year.
Terry and I had we kind of our careers were parallel because he was on the Chicken Man's boat and I was on an 80-foot Merritt, so we would always see each other at the yard.
That Jimmy
Every
Lambert's boat
yeah,
you're on?
That was Jim Lambert's boat I was on.
Real tight.
Real tight. I was on that boat for 14 years. To this
I
day,
remember seeing that thing when it came out in Marlin Mag, mate, and I was
oh,
frothing on that. That big gooseneck game chair they had in that thing, and yeah, it was pretty wicked.
he Jim had that chair built for mainly for me and Eric Leach, Mike Leach's son,
Yeah, no,
because
Eric.
we were so short we couldn't reach the rod tip with the regular gooseneck, so we built that sidewinder so the chair could be in
Yeah, yeah,
closer and we could
yeah.
reach the rod tip. He's like, my crew's too short. I need a better chair.
That was like looking at Pammy Anderson, that boat for us Aussies, mate. We were still running around on 40-foot wood nuts, carving
Oh,
out a living on the reef, and you hit the ground running on something like that. But no, it's amazing. I was only thinking about that boat today for some reason. Just thought of thinking about chatting with you tonight, and the real tightest thing of that. And I was thinking, here's Lambert Jim. Yeah, it was Jimmy Lambert. Yeah.
yeah, it was Jim Lambert. He
He
man,
was committed to it.
what a special guy he was.
Yeah.
All he wanted to do was catch marlin and big ones. You know, you see all this traveling that goes on now. Like these guys doing these trips to the fads in Costa Rica, and good on them. But he used to hate sitting at the dock. So when we were in Costa Rica years ago, he's like, why are we coming back in every night? It's flat calm. We would stay out there for 15, 16 days. But there was no blue marlin fad fishing back then. We would
Get
just
them back then too, right?
Oh my God, we just troll around and some night, hey, look at this bottom structure. Let's go sword fishing tonight. Largest swordfish I ever caught was doing that. We had about an 8 pound live rainbow runner that we put out and catch this monster swordfish on one of the banks out there.
Yeah, off the surface, you not
No, no,
just
no. We were fishing at night. You know, the sun had set, so we put out a spread. We're cooking dinner. And, you know, instead of anchoring up behind a reef, it was flat calm. So you just drift around all night long. And we found this bank that came up. We just got up on the up current side of it to get blown up on it. And I don't think the bait was in the water, but maybe 20 minutes when we got the bite, you know. So
oh, yeah.
I think back to him with all the stuff that's going on today. Now, we were trying to put together a trip to go to Ascension. We were going to go to Ascension on our own bottom, and he had lined up to charter. The Madam and the Hooker was the God's will and God's favor by that time.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Joe
but
was there, I think.
exactly, Jody was there with Trevor. And
Yeah,
what ended up happening was it was too far of a plane ride, and his doctors, because he was already dealing with the lung cancer by then. It's like, man, we can't have you more than about 4 hours away by plane.
yeah,
So, but yeah, man, unlimited budget. Let's catch as many blue marlins as we can.
yeah. God bless him. That's
Yeah,
what I think. Yeah,
I I was
Jody
very
fished with me in 2001 on the 40 Blackwatch Calypso.
okay.
Eric and Jody came over,
Okay,
and I think Eric was fishing on the Moonshine. He ended up with Scotty Browning on the Moonshine, and Jody came along with me, and we had Snudge as the other crewman on board, and Errol Shembrai, Snudger, and he fished with Brazaka on the Sea Venture with Marvin back in the day, and I think up to that point, Snudge had killed. So Snudge said 47 or 48 grand as he'd weighed, and probably right, probably more. Who would remember? But certainly not Snudger. But he was a terrific guy, and old fellas like that. And he fished with me for a few years, and I know Jody would still remember hanging out with Snudge. And we killed we weighed a 1280 in the Lizard tournament on the last day. We ran out of water on the morning of, or the night, day 6 or morning of day 7, and we're at the bottom of number 10 ribbon, and the South Pacific's there, and Andy Dow was the crewman on the South Pacific for Ronnie Jennings, and Andy was only real young then, it was 2001. We went over to Ronnie and, hey man, we need some water, can you help us out with some water? And Ronnie'd help you out with anything he's got. And we're taking on some water and talking about technology and what's going on in the tournament. We hadn't heard that Lukey Fallon the day before was in the lead of the tournament, and he'd weighed a fish 1177.
wow.
And coming into the last day of the tournament, and you've got an 1177 in the book, you're feeling pretty good. And we've heard that, and we actually heard Andy told us it was 1127. And it turns out it was 1177. Like fucking hell, it doesn't really matter. It's over, heaven,
At
up,
that
down.
point,
You're going to feel pretty good. And I speak to Luke a lot, and often we speak about this story, how things change, and luck gets good. And this was really early days for me running a boat up there, and Jody's with me and Snudge, and it's mirror calm. And Snudge rigs a queen fish, I think a 16-0, it might have been an 18-0. Belly rigs it and runs it short on the rigger on the left side, and it's trucking along. And I look back and I see this thing coming up under it, and all I could see was the black and the silver flash, black and silver. And I'm thinking, what is this? Like School of GTs or something like that? There's a big silver flash. It's its belly swinging as she's swimming up under this queenfish, and she's just
oh,
flashing her sides to silver. And I'm just thinking, it fucking looks really weird. And head comes out of the water, and by that time, everyone's watching it, because you can imagine what I said, something like on the left. And this giant marlin, it looked even bigger when it's mirror calm, like inky calm. and 3 shots at it. And every time she come over to eat this queenfish, it was swimming so close to the surface that only Snudge could do. The queenfish would just tumble along the surface. So the 4th time she came up to do it, I just came out of gear and we came tight because we weren't running much drop back then, and it was 45 pound on the button, and they were J hooks, mate, and we were going to catch it. And an hour later or so, one of my best buddies on the planet, Adam Ack, and we had this thing in the boat, and yeah, it went 1,280 pounds, and it knocked off an 1177.
Wow.
In the tournament. So that's, and in that tournament, there was 3 granders weighed in that tournament. Biggles weighed a grander as well, and yeah, it was a pretty big night, the presentation, that's for sure.
I could only imagine.
Yeah, as Lizard Island can produce. I think the last time I saw you there, you were fishing with Sparrow, and we had that. I think it was time we had a big one jump through our outrigger, and were you there then? And we got derailed by one jump through our back stay and bent it like a banana. And
I can't remember. I remember seeing you there, but I can't remember if that was when you bent the rigger.
Yeah. But
I know we fought one we were going to kill. It was a nice fish. I got some great videos. I was up in the tower and I had left my GoPro running, and luckily, when we got the leader, Tara got a hold of it, broke its back, came back around, and then swam past the transom, and then we never saw it again. It went down, and then by the time we got it back up, the sharks got to her. It's listen, it's a special place. I'm actually I'm going back this year. I'm supposed to go back this year. I have some friends. They're going down there. They're like, "Hey, you want to come with?" I'm like, "Fuck yeah, man! You don't have to ask me twice."
Here, mate. Look us up. I'll be up there again. We got a full book, and bookings have been good. The fleet's back up and running.
Man, that's so good.
Like we are. People are traveling again.
After COVID, it was so spooky because I was talking to so many people during COVID, and your country was tough. Your country was very tough with that stuff.
Mate, it was brutal, but I'll tell you what was spooky, Fly, was 2001, and I've got Jody on board, and we're in the dock in Cairns. And as we do when we're in Cairns, we've had a pretty solid night, and I get an early morning phone call from my wife, like, here we go. And all I got was, "Hey, babe, what's going on?" And she said, "Turn the television on." So I walk up in the salon, and I just press the power button, and as it came up on the TV, I'm looking at the Twin Towers, and I see smoke coming out, and I thought, fuck, man, it's like what's this Towering Inferno movie or something? And that was right when it flashed and showed the aeroplane hitting that. And Jody was still asleep, and I just walked down and woke him up. He said, "What's going on?" And he used to wear this mouth guard because he's got pearly white teeth, beautiful teeth and all that shit. And he goes, "What's going on?" And I said, "I think you're at war, mate. Your country's at war." That's all I said to him, and he freaked out because his mum was a hostie on American Airlines.
Oh.
Yeah, and he grabbed his Filofax, and he's up there on the payphone trying to get through. There was no comms. They'd shut down comms, and it was hell on earth. And obviously that was in September, and this is right at the start of the marlin season, and we're full back-to-back book with US clients, and lots of them didn't come, understandably. And we had a bunch of guys from Texas that had 3 boats booked, and they did come over. They said, "Well, if it's going to go down this way, we're going to fucking go fishing, and we'll take it on." And I think we had the best fishing I've had in 15 years for that trip with those guys. But talk about COVID was tough. That was a tough year too, just to see, that changed a lot of shit.
Oh my God, that changed the world to this day. It changed. I was in St. Thomas. I was at Kmart when the first plane hit. I'm like, man, let me get back to the boat. This is weird. A plane flies into a building. And I remember walking down the dock, and it was quiet. It was eerily quiet, but you can hear every TV in the marina. All the different bars were all on the same channel. And I got on the boat. Eddie goes to me. He goes, "Hey, have you seen this shit?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's why I came back." So we're looking at it, and then we saw the second plane fly in.
That's when everyone realised it was game on. But if only the world was run by fishermen, Fly. Hey.
Oh, listen.
That shit going on.
We have a way of policing our own.
Yeah, catch and kill your own. But
it's
no,
it's amazing.
it's
There's a lot of assholes out there, but in the fishing world, you don't last very long if you're an asshole.
no, you don't. And I tell you what, and the longer you last in it, and I'm going to be fishing for as long as I can. I know that for a fact, and I'm going to try as much as I can. And you mentioned there before about time's valuable. I know life's that long, and I'm there somewhere, and I know what that bit was, but I don't know what this bit's going to be. But I know one thing about that bit that's looking forward is it's going to be spent doing the best fishing I can do with the buddies I want to do it with and special clients I got. That's one thing I do know. And call it selfish, whatever, but I don't know how long that is. But every moment of that time is going to be trying to just do it better and go to some places I've never been and catch up with people that I know by name and record and their ability. And I love seeing the young guys coming through now and carving out those steps. But you got to do some pretty amazing shit to surprise, well, someone like me and people like yourself to get your attention. But I was watching, in the Facebook there the other day, and there's a young girl that caught her first marlin down there in Bermagui, and it was 36 kilos, 80 pound on first marlin, and she made the fish look really big, which is an unfortunate thing for someone like me because everything I catch, unless it's a giant, doesn't look that big anyway. But I love seeing shit like that. That floats me boat too.
Listen,
And people getting
I
to it.
love seeing the new generation, whether it's you're an angler or new mate.
Yep.
Listen, I'm 52 years old and I got some friends. I'm on a couple group chats and I can hear them complaining about the next generation. And I'm like, you know what? I know they were talking shit about us when we were kids, you
Yep.
know, and if you just give it time, you can see some kids that they really, really have their heart into it. They might not be focused, but they got their
No.
heart into it. And if they got their heart into it, sooner or later they'll get their focus. And I love it. I get, like you said, Facebook, I get a lot of people on social media, a lot of kids on social media that'll reach out to me or, hey man, will you follow my page? Absolutely, man. Keep me posted
Yeah.
on what you're doing. I like to see the next generation. It's our responsibility as
Well,
older guys to help these young guys come up.
I had the Dude Perfect guys on last season in Cairns, and I didn't know much about who they were or what they were, and we making contact, and this just went through Johnny at Bass Pro and Terry, and they do a lot of work together. And can you fit these guys in? And we had a spot at the end of September, and I started talking with the guys, and I started looking up who they are. And my son hears, Dad, did you say Dude Perfect? I said, yeah. Do you know these guys, or what's going on with them? And my daughter goes, Dad, they got the biggest YouTube channel on the fucking planet, man. They're bigger than Taylor Swift. So we had an amazing time with these guys, and then when we're filming, we were having lots of laughs, and they were listening to us guys talk, and what's a sanger, man? What's a sanger? A sandwich, and getting through that language barrier that us Aussies and New Yanks have got, and I thought, shit, what's going to go on at the end of this when they chuck this up on their channel? And they did a wonderful, wonderful job on, and it was tough fishing, but taking those guys Tyler fishing, or Tyler was the main dude there, and you knew straight away you had a guy on board, and all he talked about was going fishing with his kids, and he goes hunting, and he teaches his kids exactly what I talk about a lot, which is tackle box, not Xbox.
Exactly.
And they put it together, and then I thought, fuck, man, we're going to have every rich young 12-year-old in America ringing Calypso to go marlin fishing up at Lizard Island.
Listen, there's worse things.
Oh no, come one, come all, mate. But it's an industry which has been so good to me, and it's I've given it so much, and I know to play that game at a high level, and everyone around the planet that does what I do and what you've done, if you're out there having the best time ever, there's someone else that's not, and someone else is keeping you back and your home fire going, and the wives at home and the kids at home that have. I stood up on my daughter's 21st and said, darling, I love you so much, and I'm sorry I missed 15 years of your life. That's that other side of it. But
That's the other side that people don't understand.
yeah. But everyone that does what I do knows what I'm talking about. And let's talk
100%.
about the Cairns Marlin fleet. There's probably, out of all the guys up there might be maybe two or three that have still got their original girl. You know, it's heavy and it's hard, and you don't blame anyone for moving on or it not working out. It's just you're tied to the wheel and you're doing your job and you're aiming up every day with your clients because they're putting the effort in to come see you, and you've got to return that serve. And it's you sign up to it, and not many people on the home front can make it
Understand
work.
it.
Yeah, but
It's
that's the other side of it, and wish everyone well with that.
mm,
It's
that's one reason I'm not married at 52 years old. I've never been married because it's hard. I
yeah,
love
yeah.
our mistress is that ocean.
Oh
We
yeah,
love being I know I love being on that ocean. I'm happy every time. I look forward to it. I want to be out there, and I don't want to, like you said, I don't want to miss the bite.
yeah.
I don't want to miss that bite. I want to be out there and I want to see it. There's nothing worse than being down in the head and somebody's like, "Oh my God, did you see that bite?"
Oh,
And I'm like, "Damn it,
that's how
man."
you make them bite. Look out, captain's coming down, and you hear the engines change revolutions, and you know that they're either fucking with you or you got to bite.
Oh, you got a bite.
Or they
Speaking
turn
of
and go up sea. They go up sea on you.
speaking of fucking with you, when I was fishing with Spare, I was downstairs taking a shower. We got all the hatches open, and Tara gets a bucket of ice water and pours the whole fucking thing down on me in the shower. You want to talk about cold?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh
It's
my
only
God.
it's only
That's
hot as Hades up there in November, but we're coming into a. They're talking already. We're coming into an El Nino phase again, and we're already thinking about what that's going to do to the reef and the hot water, and it's so reliant on temperature up there when those big fish come in from the Coral Sea and they end up on the edge and they want to spawn or they do spawn. Mightn't always be on the edge, but that's where they're doing their thing. And you talk to scientists like Julian Pepperell, God bless him, he knows more about that sort of shit than anyone on the planet. And Julian was the guy that made me really conscious of what we're actually up there doing. And he backs us 100%, and I back everyone up there fishing that they're up there doing the right thing and looking after those fish as much as they can. And he said, every time, and I do know what it feels like when you take a big fish up there and all the adrenaline wears off, and you look down the cockpit and you've got 550 kilos or 1,200 pounds of marlin flesh laying there. And Julian said, but when you look down there, also think, yeah, that's one fish you've taken out, but she's carrying up to 500 million eggs.
wow.
Yeah, and we took a fish. Corey was on board with me and Muzzer, and Tacona jet running short. I'll never forget it. And I thought, that's the biggest blue marlin I've ever saw in my life. And we're fishing wider cans. It was a black marlin. It was 950 pounds plus, and we pulled it on board and we took the roe sacks out and we thought we'll keep these for Julian for study. And they were 3.5 foot long and this round, and there was two of them, and we had them in the freezer and we got them to where they needed to go just for research or whatever. But that's 500 million eggs, man.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's a lot of eggs.
Yeah. It is. And
They're very efficient machines. They swim, they eat, and they make little babies.
and they send you crazy.
I mean, they're more efficient than I am.
Yeah, I've often thought about trying to eat with just your mouth, like chase something doing 20 knots and you can eat it just with your mouth. Like they get good at it, mate.
They're so fucking good.
Swim and eat and send people crazy.
Some of the best memories I have that are burned in my brain are watching a big marlin come up and eat, because they make it look. Number one, what people don't understand is a big fish. 8 knots is nothing. They don't look like they're swimming. You don't see their tail paddle. They're just kind of, you're going at 8 knots. They just come up like nothing. And they're just kind of gliding along. Oh, you got to slow down the boat. Trust me, buddy. You don't have to slow down the boat. If they really want to eat it, they're going to eat it.
Well, they make all our moves look good.
Yeah. Listen, I'm about as clumsy as a bull in a china shop. And they're 800 pounds, 1,000 pounds. They're doing circles, chasing shit. It's like, how did he just do that?
Yeah. Well, you can make turn any fish into a world record. You just, how much you want to risk. You
Exactly.
get in your line classes, and like I started off earlier with you, we're getting into that, and it's. I'm not saying that the big fish is easy in any means, but you start coming down in your line class and really aiming up on something and putting a team together and matching the hatch with your tackle and thinking you're the smartest person on the planet when it happens and thinking you're the dumbest prick on the planet when it doesn't. And you're trying to work out something, like you said, that swims and eats, got a brain as big as a peanut, and it
That's
dies with
it.
the same brain that it fucking is born with. It's heartbreaking sometimes, but that's the route we're on at the moment. We're looking at stuff and we're searching, and where can we go and do this, and have we got enough money to go and do it? Because it is an industry where you're running a boat, you're not bringing in rivers of gold, but you're conscious of your time and you want your time to be maximised, and hence the thing with the Omni. For me, I don't have an Omni on board, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to end up with one as soon as I can, because that bit that's left, we don't know what that is, but I want to get as many bites as I can, mate, in that
Exactly.
time, and that thing will give it to you. It's that good.
And the thing is, they're getting cheaper and cheaper. It
Yeah,
isn't good. It isn't going to be long before every boat has it on there.
correct. It's like a GPS. It's like a colour sounder. It's like moving from the FE 400 Furuno, where you swing the paper around and start running it backwards on the Perco paper. We're going,
Oh my
and now, oh,
goodness.
shit, there's a coloured JRC sounder. What the fuck is that? The old code.
I
But you're
remember
right.
those paper things, man. Those paper things were
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Oh, you'd see the boys up in the tower in the early days, and you'd see the paper flying out the side of the tower like a shit roll going, and they're trying to feed it back in.
Ah, yeah,
But yeah, you
it's
see
just
those
the
old pictures.
technology. It's technology, and you got to embrace it
Yep.
and use it to your advantage.
I'm pretty sure if it ever gets to it fly, that the last marlin, if I hope that's never a thing, but the last marlin ever to be caught, and just before he is, he'll be seen on an Omni.
Chances are you're right.
Yeah, yeah.
Chances are you're right. But like you
That's
said,
something.
I hope there's never a last Marlin.
We don't. Well, maybe the last one for me, I guess, but I want those things to be here forever, and that's for sure. And I want them to be there forever on the reef, and I want the reef to continue. And we've fought so many battles on the reef with the environmental groups, and I shouldn't even say the environmental, the hardcore green brigade. There's no one up there that's looking after that reef like a marlin boat captain. Like
That's
we
what
are.
and I'm not, you know what, when you say environmental, I'm going to stick with that because of the fact I have a very big distinction between an environmentalist and a conservationist. A
Yeah, correct.
conservationist is somebody that wants to conserve it for the next generation. Where an
I love my
environmentalist,
environment, and
I
I know how
love
to look
my
at it.
environment, I love my conservation,
Yep,
but who's going to protect it the most is guys like us that are out
yep,
there using the resource every day.
yep.
And that's what environmental groups, greenies, don't understand is that we want to see this stuff protected because we love it so much.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
and it's not to the point where we're going to want to say, right, I'm done, lock it up now, and be that selfish. I want everyone to enjoy it, and I want it to go forever. And I've just handed off the presidency of the CPGFA to Kleiny. Daniel Klein's now the president of it, and it's like handing over the torch. And that association has been around since the start of fishing in Cairns. I think it kicked off in 71, 72. I was born in 71 flight.
wow.
And that association's been there that long, and it started off to look after and represent the industry guys, and it was all about manning and survey requirements to run a boat in Australia on the reef. And the Peter B's were there, and the Laurie Wrights and the Whelans and the Brazakas and the Woodbridges and Dennis Hayes and these guys that started this shit that sent us all crazy and given us all bad habits all our life. God bless them. But
Explain for the people that aren't familiar with the acronym. Let everybody know exactly what the Charter Association is.
it's Cairns Professional Game Fishing Association, CPGFA, and we made a film in 2019 called On the Edge, and that was just to connect the history of Cairns and we refreshed the code of conduct, and we brought it up to the 2000 or the 2019 standard, where we had in our constitution and our code of conduct, we won't anchor in coral, and we were very conscious of, if the government, which they do, if they look at an industry and they see that you're not managing it yourself, or there's an in for them, they'll come in and manage it for you, and it ain't going to work out well for us. So we got on the front foot and said, righto, let's start talking about things like conservation. Let's start talking about, hey guys, in the fleet we're going to do X, Y, Z, and to be accredited with the CPGFA, let's cut our single-use plastics. Let's get water filters on board and stop carting all these bottles of water, and let's teach people the right way. Let's share all this intel to look after what gives us so much, and what gives up so much for us. And we made the film. We contacted and searched for a guy that could do the filming, and it turned out to be Nick Jones, who's made some amazing films. And he was doing surfing films back then, and he's a great fisherman, and he was into it. And I was talking to Kelly Darling, and she said, yeah, you should contact this guy. And anyway, we got Nick, and he stayed up there for 35 days, and he went from boat to boat and filmed as much as he could. And it turned out to be a really tough month of fishing. But what he put together, everyone that's going to watch this, I suggest you go and watch the On the Edge by the CPGFA. It's on YouTube. It's a wonderful film, and it came together. And right after that, someone fucking ate a bat in a cave in fucking somewhere in China, and everything went to shit. But it was never about, it was right in the COVID time, and everyone thought, oh, they've done this to get things back on track for COVID. It wasn't. It was before COVID. And we just wanted to stake our claim and say, things are going well. We can present that to the government that's bringing out all the rules all the time for us, and say, hey, check it out. We're on the front foot. We're circle hooks. We're doing things right. We're conscious of the number one word that kills more marlin than any J hook, and it's called free spool, because you can turn any hook into a J hook with free spool.
Amen to that.
Yeah. So, and it came across really well, and yeah, it was a good film. And CPGFA is going to put together the 60th tournament coming up, so you'll start seeing that coming through the socials. So get in early and get over here, because it'll be a nice big celebration in Cairns in September. Next year. It's not long.
Next year? It's this year. You're just talking a few months away.
No, it's 2025 now. I'm talking next
year. It's
year.
2026 is the tournament?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the 60th anniversary of the first 1,000-pound black marlin caught in Cairns, which was a 1067, something like that. Richard Oback caught it with George Bransford on the Sea Baby.
Wow. Let me know what I can do. I'd love to push that out and let everybody know about that tournament.
I'll keep you posted on it, mate. But it's, I think the Cairns fleet now, fly would be, 20 boats, 25 boats still. There's a lot more privateers are coming up there every other year, I guess. Have GPS, will travel. We're starting to see bigger boats get into the reef. There's, every year there's the travelling boats from over in the States. I think Rossi's going to bring the big one over. He's in Tahiti right now on the Seawees, and they're going to get their mothership and come over. You had the Bad Company crew there last year or the year before, I think it was. So we're seeing a bit more of that.
No, that's a good thing, man. It's great to see more boats come in.
Absolutely. I've met a lot of them, over the years, and anyone that's prepared to travel halfway around the planet and put whatever they got in the line, and don't worry, they got plenty of these guys, but put that to the side. It takes a lot, and it ain't about money. You need it to do it, but just the commitment to say, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to put all these people's livelihoods in my pocket. And, it's a big deal, man.
It's a big investment, and it's not, the money is not the investment part. It's the time, the logistics.
Yeah. Keeping people involved, keeping people interested, trying to go. And I could only imagine if I rocked up into somewhere like Kona and said, "G'day guys, I'm Tim, and I'm going to go fishing right next to you today." You're not doing that. You're not doing it for long. You're doing it long enough for you to get back into that harbour, and then the next thing you're going to wear a fucking ruckus in between the eyes or something like that. But it's all of that too, I'm going to come and fish your spot. I'm going to be waving at you. G'day, we met in the dock, and here I am. But come one, come all. It's we respect that, and anyone that travels and does that, you've got to respect that.
It's it takes somebody special to do, yeah, to to invest that amount of time to go down there,
Well,
especially to
you'll
drag the
soon
whole
lose your respect
operation
pretty
down there.
quick. You'll
What's
soon
that?
lose that respect. You'll soon lose that respect from pretty quick if they come sliding down beside you on the second corner and hook an 1,100 pounder in front of you.
Oh my
You'll turn
gosh.
you'll turn the radio down then. Sorry about that. And there'll be stern words said in the tower, but you'll shake his hand when you see him at the barn and say, "Yeah, well done, mate." But
Hey man,
fucking hell,
congratulations.
yeah, can't wait till you fuck off. But
Ah,
no,
uh,
it's good, and I keep saying it, Fly. I've fished over in Gulf of Mexico. I've got some great clients there in Texas, and I can go over to those tournaments, which I've done, the Poker Bueno, the Legends, and those tournaments in Texas. And yeah, everything about those guys is true. The stereo's that fucking loud, and the more they drink, the louder they get. That's all true as well. But there's some of my greatest friends on the planet have been made and on the Barrier Reef, and I can go and hang out in their world and go hunting over there with them, and go and check out their life. And I've been so fortunate for that, and that's what I love about. One of the things I love so much about fishing's given me is that group of friends worldwide, yet alone if they're captains, crew, but the clients as well. And the good thing about the reef is the longer you do it, you meet everyone else's clients as well. And, you're chatting away with people and, JP's fishing with Biggles and, how's Timmy doing? You get together in a raft up. You've got other people's clients, your friends as well. No one's swapping business cards and doing all that. It's
no.
just everyone's got their own stuff going on, and it's great to get together. And if you can have a client that wants to go and fish somewhere in the world and they ring you, you just want them to be looked after. So you can hook them up with one of your buddies, and that's the network that works really well.
It's I always call it a fraternity. I mean,
Yeah,
it's the world's largest fraternity. It doesn't matter where you go, you always got a friend.
the world's largest unfenced asylum.
That's very true because we are some crazy
That's
motherfuckers.
Cooktown. That's Cooktown.
Oh my gosh, that place is that's a different place. Cooktown is definitely a different place. It ain't
I
Cairns.
love it, man. I love it. A bounty
It's
hunter would make a lot of money in Cooktown.
it's a neat place. It's a little bit off the reservation.
Yeah, it is, mate. But I tell you what, it serves the marlin fleet well. We can come in there, and our charters up on the reef are back to back. So you get in at 6:30 at night. You'll wash down as quick as you can. You'll take on fuel. You'll get your laundry done. You'll load your stores on. You'll go and have your final dinner with your clients, and you'll meet your new ones at the same place, maybe at the Bowling Club or at the Sovereign Hotel there. And you'll say goodbye, guys. Hello, guys. How are you? And it's on. And then 8 o'clock in the morning, 7:30, you're leaving the dock as well. And you're back to back at it. And Cooktown looks after the marlin fleet. There's no doubt about that. We'd be lost without it. And all the best for Jim and Ann up there and looking after us there at Fisherman's Wharf. You're
I
five cockpits wide, and you're running your gen set, and you're playing for power.
I when I jumped on Sparrow's boat, I flew into Cooktown, and
Yeah,
it was a neat spot. You got all the boats; they're all rafted up next to each
yeah,
other. You're climbing across, bringing your bag, and
yeah.
it's
That's it.
hey, what's going on? What are you doing? What's happening? You go feed the potato cods at the
Yeah, the
dock.
big gropers there. But you notice in that place when you say fly all those boats rafted up, because there's only so much space on the one dock that's there, and you're 5 transoms wide, and you're out on the end, and you come down with 7 days worth of stores. You got your cartons of food and drinks and all that. But everyone, all the crew there, they all pass it across, and it's you just would sit there and watch that happen. You see the young guys there helping out the guys next door, and they're trying to catch up with each other. The crew's talking about, oh, does your captain, rip shreds off you, and like whatever they're doing, they're talking about rigging a scat a certain way. You sit back, you watch that go on. It's pretty cool. I like that too.
It's awesome. It's what our industry is based on. All of us fishermen getting together, talking, sharing the different stories that you've seen somebody do something on their boat a couple days ago from afar. It's like, man, next time I see him, I got to ask him about that.
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
start talking about it, or you hear something happen on the radio. Hey, so and so, this happened, and it's like, okay, I want to talk to you firsthand. What really happened?
yeah.
You
I knew
know.
that it happened one day. I've been doing it for 30 years, and one fucking day it worked. I
Ah,
fell asleep and booked a 1,200 pounder.
oh, it happens.
Yeah. No,
No,
and it's like that all around the world now. You're watching everything. You've got it in real time. You're looking at social media. You're checking stuff out. I'm seeing stuff flash up on my socials all the time on, anything from a new live bait rig that's getting around at the moment where there's this pin rig that goes through the eyes and all that. And then I'm looking at that going, that's pretty cool, but you would want your peg ton up too tight because you'd probably rip that thing,
it's
and
sockets out.
yeah, you're seeing all sorts of shit, that new stay stuck hooks. And it's just that we talk about technology, but we're ever evolving in the fishing. But one thing I'll always say about the technology, you might catch a few more fish with an Omni, you might catch a few more fish with all the science and all the greatest shit ever, but will it ever make you a better fisherman? And I'm really conscious of that when I look at the young guys in the fleet and young kids fishing, and you really can see, and they stand out the ones that have got it in them. That dreaded disease where you can take them away from their family and turn them into a whatever you want them to do because they'll commit to you as a captain. And I've had some incredible crew work for me from a young age, and I've been very fortunate to count on one of this many hands, this many fingers of 30 years of fishing with that many crew that have slept on the floor of my house for a season and watched my kids grow up and babysit my kids and part of the family. And that is special to me, and the loyalty and the respect you get. And guys like Corey Gillespie over there, I speak to him a lot, and he's doing some incredible stuff over there. And he's got a boss, on that boat, and I'm pretty sure in the Bermuda now. And he's found his owner, and I spoke to Lance, his owner, and said, and he said, "Oh, Corey tells me so much about you and whatnot." And I said, "Well, Corey, we turned him into an honorary Aussie. We brought him up on VB and Vegemite. I love seeing the successes that I've been somewhat a part of, even to know people, mate, that are going on and doing really cool shit. Because one thing the reef will teach you, if you survive a season there, let alone come back for another one with us lunatics, is you'll work hard
You
and
definitely
you'll
work
you'll
hard.
you'll work your ass off, and you'll be conscious that the next bite could be the one, the whatever you're looking for. And it's a place where you've got to be really careful what you wish for because you might just find it.
Very valid point. But that's
Yeah.
I'm glad you bring that up because what people don't understand as a captain, it's a captain tree. You have all these young deckhands that work under you, and then you get a chance to see them grow.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And consider everything they say to you. And one thing we do on our boat is we like to talk about not so much the wins. We like to talk about the losses. What could we have done better on that one? Or, what do you think, guys? We did, we're not looking for someone to blame. We're looking for continuous
Knowledge.
improvement. Yeah,
Exactly.
like and even your clients when you get the old, well, I would have did it this way, and you go, fuck it, hell, who gave that guy rum and coke? But
Go have another one. Leave me alone.
no, the client wants to get involved. But when you're sitting there, when all the clients go to bed, and we always have a bit of a debrief out the back, and I love hearing their perspective and what they saw, and because the captain sees everything, right? Correct. That's what we're
Absolutely.
supposed to do. But sometimes it's not what you don't see. It's you've got to work as a unit. And the good thing about what I've had go for me is longevity with crew. And you get to the point where you know what they're going to do and they know what you're going to do. And the black marlin thing, you touch the leader, he's going to jump. They're quite predictable, very, very predictable, actually, especially with heavy drag. You can make and do as much as you want when you want, sort of thing. And that's when you know you've got something good going on, when there's no talk and you just know your crewman's going to take the leader in the left part of the cockpit and you put him in that position. You know which way the fish is going to go, and that's the predictability of the black marlin. But that trust you've got, and he knows that you're going to be looking after him, your wire man and the guys on the boat. But like I said earlier, if you're not prepared to, or you don't have that bit of animal in you, your crew involved as well, and that trust factor, you're never going to catch the one. You need to develop that to get to the point where you trust each other that much that, yeah, I'm going to put you into a dangerous position, but I'm going to be right there with you to do it.
I'm going to
And
help you every way possible.
yeah, you're prepared for it. And the number one thing to be prepared for it is to trust each other. That's what I like to have on board.
There's a lot to be said about that. I know. Listen, I'm not a military guy, but I played sports growing up, and fishing to me was very similar to sports, where you get a group of guys together
Yeah,
and you have the same objective goal, which is capturing a fish. And once you beat it and you catch it, you create a bond. And whether it's with one of your clients, it's with your crew, you
well,
start,
it's always with the client for sure. They're
yeah,
paying money.
you form this bond, and um, it lasts forever, like you said with Corey.
Yeah,
I know
really.
with Eddie. I remember when we gave Eddie a surprise birthday party for his 60th, and it was all his former. I was at that time, I was his former crew. So was Skip Smith. You had all these guys. I mean, the resumes as long as my fucking body, and
Yeah,
they all fell under his coaching tree. And you
yeah,
start looking around, it's like, wow, you really taught a lot of people how to fish.
yeah. And Bilson was one of those guys,
Yeah,
as we spoke about earlier. And yeah, those guys that fished with him, man, they knew what it was to turn the music up and come up here. They knew about that, and it's the same way, the spawn of the guys like all the old guys, Peter B and his crew, and Woodbridge. You get Roscoe and Woodbridge. You get Biggles, and they're some of the best fishermen on the planet, if not the best. Those guys I'm
they're
talking about.
incredible fishermen.
Yeah, and they can catch anything. They're those guys that can fucking come up here trout fishing with me and pull your pants down. That's unreal.
What kind of trout are you guys catching there?
Browns and rainbows. So
Okay.
all we're waiting for right now is some rain, and then they'll spawn. They'll leave all the dams here, and right out the front right now, it's dark now. You can't see it. We're on a big hydro electricity setup, and it was built or started to get built just after the Second World War, and it's called the Snowy Mountain Scheme,
Okay.
and it's the first hydro project in post-war Europe. Everyone immigrated anywhere but Europe, because it was flattened and Australia needed more people and we needed something for them all to do. So hence the Snowy Mountain Scheme started, and I grew up just down the road here, and it's a set of a multitude of big dams, and it runs through some power stations and that sort of thing. But what it's given is some really cool fishing, some really good recreational stuff like water skiing and all that. And it's a small town. The actual town I'm sitting in right now, Fly, is called Talbingo.
Hell bingo.
Albingo, Talbin, like bingo, Talbingo. And there'd be lucky to be 150 people in this town. But it's the house I'm in right now was one of the houses built for the original project back in the 50s. And we renovated it. And Mum and Dad lived here. And when we moved out of the little town, we were probably half an hour away. So we come back here and we fish the streams and we catch trout, or you can go up into the dams and the lakes, and you can troll for browns and rainbows. And the long weekend in June is when they close the rivers down because the trout are spawning then. So it's just back to the dams. So it's pretty well controlled and looked after. But it's a magical place walking through the mountains and
That's so
hanging
cool.
out. Like,
That is
it's,
so
it's
cool.
7 hours from Port Stephens. It's a 7 hour drive. And for the south coast, places like Bermagui, just over the mountain range, it's maybe 2.5 hours, 3 hours drive from here to Bermagui and
That's
that
not too
south coast
bad.
area. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's good.
That's I enjoy all that river fishing. I went to Patagonia last year and spent
I'm going
10.
next year.
Well, you're going next year?
I'm going to Antarctica in February next year, and I'm
That's the,
flying
that's the
into.
only that's the only continent I've never fished on.
I'm not going there to fish. I think I'm going there to survive. I booked this trip, and then I watched some film about crossing this joint called the Drake Passage, and I went, fuck, and someone said, "What are you going to do down there?" And I said, "Well, check this film out. I'm going to fucking survive by the look of this shit." It's so we leave the bottom end of Chile or somewhere there, and we sail across this joint called the Drake Passage and spending 10 days in Antarctica on a National Geographic ship with two of our best friends, husband and wife, the Hughes family, you know, the Wildcatter team.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to hang out with them in Antarctica. So,
That's
fuck
cool
knows
as
why.
shit, man.
Very cool. Fuck.
That's cool as shit.
Yeah, so it's just an adventure. And you mentioned the trout fishing, and Patagonia down that area is some really cool trout fishing. So I'll
Oh,
probably do a bit of that.
it's amazing. I had so many people call me up. I thought you were more of a big game fisherman. I'm like, dude, I'm just a fisherman. I'll catch anything. If you give me a bucket, I'll
Yeah,
put a rod in it. I don't care.
yeah. Well, one of the famous, well, the things I remember, and I remember a lot, and Rossi Finlayson said to me, "You got to fish your feet first. You got to fish what's ever in front of you." And that's what I've always thought about the Victorian fishing fraternity, you know, down that Melbourne way. And those guys will tow a boat for 3 days to fish 2 hours and tow it back, you know, just on a weekend, like, and they'll catch garfish and or ballyhoos, and they'll make the best time they've ever had, and they'll fish for squid or calamari. And you know, I admire stuff like that. And Roscoe said to me, "You got to fish your feet first, mate. Whatever's in front of you, you got to make the most of it." And he's right.
Exactly.
You know, so
Yeah,
here I am in the snowy mountains, about to get cold and wet, and probably fall arse over head in the river trying to catch a fucking freshwater thing that tastes good when you add salt.
yeah, but it'll make for a great story, man.
They always do, Fly. They always do.
That's the best part of our jobs is the stories and the friendships. That's I mean, um, for me, I always tell everybody, it's like, listen, catching is actually reeling in the fish. Fishing is what we do in between the bites as you spend time with your friends and family. And that's what I enjoy most about it. I enjoy being able to share what I love about the sport with so many people.
Yeah.
That to me is what's magical about it, you know?
Yeah, and like I said earlier, mate, you know when you're around those people, it's exactly what you just said there is the same thing that Tyler from Dude Perfect said to me, that I thought, you know, this guy shoots basketball hoops and entertains kids, but he was a really, really good guy, and he said exactly the same thing. He said the fishing bit's cool, but it's time away in a special location to share it with yourself and your friends with a common goal. And, you know, it's just, you know, straight out of Johnny Morris's textbook, man. And, you know, you go fishing with a guy like him and you know why he's successful, because he's one of those people that, you
He
know,
loves
he'll
it.
grab his son, he'll grab his grandkid, he'll grab his son-in-law, and he'll take them away out of their comfort zone and put them into a position where it's just you and the environment and a rod in your hand, you know. And it's nothing like different sitting around in West Texas talking about hunting mule deer, looking into a Texas TV around a fire pit. You know, it's
That's the
special
best
time.
part. That's the
Yeah, it
best
is.
part. Sitting
Yeah,
around talking with your friends. I don't care if I kill anything when I go hunting.
ain't about that.
I want to feed everybody at the end of the night and tell stories. What'd you see today?
Yeah.
You know?
How did you see it? And what did you see? What did you
What did you see?
see?
Son of a bitch, he caught me sleeping in the tree stand.
Yeah. No,
What?
it's good. We've been fortunate like that, and there's many more adventures ahead. There's no doubt about that. And I look forward to every one of them, mate.
Well, Timmy, first of all, I want to say thank you for taking the time out to talk with me this evening, this morning for me. I really appreciate you taking the time. I've enjoyed talking with you, and I've enjoyed you being able to tell everybody a little bit about the reef, and I look forward to seeing you here this fall.
Yeah, mate. We'll make sure you look us up, and I want to hear some stories about the Ivory Coast when you're over there.
Yeah,
With
I'll definitely keep you posted on that. And are you fishing the World Cup again this year?
we are. I'm riding along with JP Johnny Peterson on Jason Holtz's boat. So we're
Oh,
fishing Marlins tournament again. I've got a big group of Aussies going over this year, which is cool. and we're all staying together in a house. I've got Benny that runs the Calypso when I'm not there, Benny Hayes, and his wife and little girl, Sonny. Got my wife. I've got a couple of other buddies. Muzzer's coming along with his girl and kids. So there's, I think, 15 of us fly going over, and we're going to fish a couple of tournaments and ride along every other day there with Jason, JP. So yeah, you'll be hearing from me on the 4th, mate.
Listen, you got my number. You got my number. Just call me up. I'm not sleeping. I'm happy to talk to anybody. Who knows what new technology
you do a good job with
I'll
that
have
tournament,
by
mate.
then.
Kudos to you. That tournament's pretty cool, and like we said, people froth to that sort of thing and want to know what's going on. And yeah, it's a big long one day, but I tell you what, it's a cool thing. Good on you.
It goes to show you how long that fabric of marlin fishermen is around the world.
Yeah, we just want to sort of turn it into maybe late October, and you could chuck
black marlin into it.
Then you'd be riding out some checks in the old little Aussie bleeder, mate. I can tell you.
You know, every once in a while, I get an Aussie boat that'll go out during the World Cup. Every once in a while.
No, well, the East Coast blue marlin fishery, the Gold Coast, Fraser Island, it's a really hard place to fish, but gyros have made it a bit easier. And you get someone with a mothership and gyros and hang out up there at Fraser Island, mate. It's the biggest current break on the east coast of Australia, if not the planet. Wow. And the marlin fishing there for the blues is off the scale. Like, my boat goes past there every year coming down, and at the end of the can season in December, and you can come down there, and we've had straight line fishing and wake up in the morning, put the spread out, and you get a triple header of blues on straight away. And wow, 3 hours later, you've caught 8 from 15, and you haven't turned around once. And there's a big fish caught there too. So who knows, mate?
Well, I'm just going to have to figure out making more time to go down there more often. That's the biggest thing.
Well, you're always welcome, mate.
Well, I appreciate it, Timmy. And again, I appreciate the time, and I look forward to talking with you again soon. So let me sign off here for everybody. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. Timmy, hold on one moment, and we will check you. Hey, wait a second. Before I hang up with you, or before I sign off, where can people find you? Do you have a website and social media?
marlinfishingaustralia.com.
Okay. Well, make sure you guys look up
on the
Timmy.
socials, Facebook, Calypso Fishing Adventures. That's it.
There you go. Make sure you look up Timmy if you got any questions, or you can reach out to me and I'll put you in touch with him. So everybody, peace out. Enjoy your day, and we'll chat soon. Timmy, hold on.
Yeah, man.